If you feel like your body has betrayed you, like pleasure is something reserved for other people, something you have to earn, or something you're always getting wrong, this little corner of podcast land is for you. I'm your radical, rageful mama bear, fiercely defending your right to feel good in your body and dragging you lovingly through the annotated bibliography of everything your sex ed forgot to mention. Because here's the truth. Pleasure isn't a side dish, it's not fluff, it's not luxury, it's your body's way of saying, I'm alive, I belong, and I have power. Welcome to the Nature of Pleasure. I'm Nicole Siegel, certified sexological body worker and creator of the Body Compass Method. And this is where we unravel the quiet codes of your body, the hidden intelligence beneath desire, and the organic rhythm of your erotic nature. Welcome back to the Nature of Pleasure, where we don't just decode desire, we unhook it from all the performative, packaged nonsense that's been sold to us as truth. All right, so tell me if this sounds familiar. You're trying to get more in touch with your erotic self, and everywhere you look, someone is telling you to find your type, your blueprint, your flavor, your fixed erotic style. Are you more slow and spiritual or fast and fiery? Do you crave dominance, devotion, deep eye contact, or maybe just a blindfold and a safe word? And sure, it's helpful for a minute. It's validating, maybe even a little relieving to find your blueprint, your type, that one thing that you're into. But at some point, it starts to feel like a cage with velvet wallpaper, or maybe it feels like you're not quite doing it right. You're not embodying your blueprint in the right way. So what happens when your identity isn't turning you on anymore, but you don't know how to pivot because you're so thoroughly built your erotic life around it? And how do you explore your eroticism without leaning on these blueprints? What does it look like when we are just super present with all of the messy and spontaneous facets of ourselves and our eroticism? So that's what we're talking about today. All about how erotic archetypes do not exist. We're diving into why I don't believe in fixed sexual types, how trauma and nervous system conditioning often masquerade as preference or personality, and why real erotic integration means being able to access the entire erotic landscape, not just the plot of land you were assigned. We'll talk about the clients I see who feel like the only time they're turned on is in high anonymity, high risk scenarios, and the ones who call themselves slow and sensitive when what they actually are is under-resourced and waiting for someone to meet them. We'll explore how misattunement, cultural conditioning, and shame shape our erotic pathways, not because it's who we are, but because it's what we had to do to survive. So if you've ever felt like you're stuck in one sexual lane and you don't know how to switch gears, this one's for you. Or if you are starting your erotic exploration and you don't really know where to start, other than the simple quiz or the technique-based materials and books out there, and you're really longing for something that feels more organic and true to you, keep listening, because you are meant to be a whole damn ecosystem, not just a blueprint. Oh, and before we dive in, if your body is already whispering more, please, I've got options. If you're just starting this journey or your nervous system needs a gentle, private invitation back to sensation, grab my free video series, The 3 Best At-Home Sexological Bodywork Practices for more embodied sex. These are slow, simple, body-loving rituals you can do from the comfort of your own bed. No pressure, no performance, just reconnection. And if you're listening with a partner in mind, or you've been dreaming about what it would feel like to be touched like someone actually studied for it, Reset Your Erotic Rhythm is my step-by-step couples course for reawakening desire, even if it's been on mute for months. You can find both in the show notes. Go get them. Your body is already asking. So I had a client once who came into our session and said, I only ever feel turned on when I'm with someone I barely know. And she was totally exhausted from it. She had done the work. She'd done the journaling, the trauma therapy, the nervous system repatterning, but somehow she could only access her erotic self in these high risk, high anonymity environments. Casual sex with strangers or power play with people she just met, even fantasies that flirted with the line of non consent. And she felt like she was broken, or more accurately, she'd been told she was broken. And I get it, because on the surface, it looks like a problem of wrong turn on. But the deeper we went, the more clear it became this wasn't a preference, this was a strategy. And it's a really smart one, too, because the anonymity gave her a sense of control. No one could expect anything. No one could really see her. And there was no intimacy to betray, no vulnerability to be rejected, no slow build that might reveal parts of her she wasn't sure were lovable. And that sense of being unknown, it felt like safety, because somewhere along the way, closeness got paired with harm and intimacy got paired with intrusion. So, of course, her body wired itself to only feel desire in the spaces where none of that was on the table. It's not dysfunction, it's adaptation. But the trouble is, strategies that help us survive don't always help us get all the way to thriving. And when the only way you can access your eroticism is in a very narrow set of conditions, especially conditions that don't actually feel nourishing, you're not totally free. You're surviving, not connecting, not expanding, not choosing. And what she and I worked on wasn't erasing her desire for anonymous or edgy sex. That was actually never the goal. The work was about growing her range, about helping her feel her erotic self in environments where she could also feel seen, known, safe, and attuned to. Because when intimacy no longer equals danger, your options open. And that's what integration is. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that had to hide or armor up or stay locked behind a one-way mirror. Let's go into another client story who fell on the opposite side of the spectrum. She came to me after years of immersing herself in tantra workshops and sacred sexuality retreats, embodiment circles, you name it. She told me with deep conviction, I'm an energetic type. I don't like being touched right away. I can't handle a lot of stimulation. I need slowness and spaciousness, eye gazing, or I just shut down. And on paper, that sounds super beautiful and ethical and conscious and mature. But when we get really curious about what was underneath all of that, I'm just an energetic, a different picture really starts to emerge. It turned out she didn't grow up in a particularly touch-positive home. She had a history of being touched too fast, too young, too carelessly, and not necessarily in abusive ways, but in deeply unattuned ways. Things like tickling she couldn't stop, hugs she didn't want, or doctors that didn't ask. Her body learned early on that touch equals overwhelm. And of course, she built a sexual identity that matched that. Because if you call it a preference, no one questions it. And we aren't really given environments where we get to explore our sexuality and really get to the root of it. And so we often don't dig deeper than the identities that we find. But when you go underneath, with this client, what I saw wasn't someone whose erotic nature was purely energetic. What I saw was a nervous system that had never really been given the chance to fully trust touch, never been invited to meet sensation rather than brace against it. And when we worked together, we slowed everything down, but not to reinforce her type. We slowed down to give her body time to repattern the experience of being touched, of being met, of being in sensation without losing herself. And something totally wild happened. Once she felt safe enough to stop anticipating harm, her body got curious, and suddenly this energetic woman wanted to explore pressure, rhythm, intensity. She wanted to move, to sound, to touch back. All of these things opened up for her. Her blueprint hadn't been wrong, it was just incomplete. She wasn't an energetic necessarily. She was a human who had never been given a full menu. And once her system had time to regulate and trust the process, her desires began to bloom beyond the one box that she was taught. The thing is, we live in a world that just loves labels, a world that makes identity feel like safety. And I get it. It's because you've spent your whole life swimming in a sea of shame and disconnection and contradiction about sex. Finding a name for your desire really can feel like a life raft. It gives you a script, a community, a framework, sometimes even a sense of pride. But it also gives you edges and boundaries and rules about who you're allowed to be and how your body's supposed to work. Because the truth is, the same cultural forces that taught us to fear our eroticism are now marketing it back to us in personality quiz form. in swipeable identities and sensual aesthetics and workshop approved turn ons. And that culture doesn't actually want you free. It wants you to be defined so that you're marketable and packageable and consistent. It wants you to pick a lane, preferably one with an affiliate link. And when we don't do the work of excavating that influence in our erotic selves, we think our preferences are innate when they might actually be inherited, or that our pace is our truth when it might just be our trauma. So I don't believe in erotic archetypes as permanent truths. I believe in them as maps, and like any map, they're only useful if you remember you can leave the trail. Because the point isn't to find the right version of you. It's to learn how to listen so closely to your body that you don't need a label to trust what it's saying. So this is where we can come to the possibility of true erotic integration. Because the goal isn't actually to leave you with a dismantled identity. It's actually to get into the texture of what it feels like when we're erotically multilingual. When you're no longer stuck in a single dialect of desire, when your body can speak many languages and isn't afraid to shift or experiment or surprise you. So integration doesn't mean that you stop having preferences. It means that your preferences aren't the only door you know how to walk through, and your arousal isn't held hostage by one specific scenario or person or pace or power dynamic. You can get turned on slowly or quickly. You can love tenderness and also crave teeth. You can savor silence one day and scream into a pillow the next. It feels like having more colors to paint with. And it means you're not shut down when a partner touches you in a new way. It means you can get curious, that your nervous system has the capacity to. It means you don't freeze when a new desire bubbles up. You get really playful with it. And it means your erotic life gets to evolve with you instead of holding you in place. Because when your nervous system is regulated, when your body is trusted, and when your shame has been digested instead of denied, eroticism gets a chance to really become alive and expansive and dynamic. Because you're no longer dependent on just one pathway, and you realize that your erotic evolution is not dependent on finding the right technique or the right kind of touch or the right position. Erotic evolution is actually about learning how to have range and to have fluency and to essentially find choice in the deepest way possible. That's the episode for today. Short, sweet, and slightly subversive. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, you get it. Hit the show notes, freebies, courses, portals to your own damn power. Now go let your body do what it was born to do. Feel. I want to share this little freebie with you. If your body feels like a stranger or a task to manage instead of a place to live, this is where you start. The 3 best at-home sexological bodywork practices for more embodied sex is my free video series for coming the hell back to your body. They are slow, they are intimate, they're designed to wake you up without rushing you, because your pleasure isn't gone. It's just been waiting for the right kind of attention. It's free, it's yours, go get it.